Hello everyone, myself Sri Ganesh, and this is my team. My team consists of 4 members: Ritika, Suganti, Sarveswaran, and Veeramaniganapu. And today we are going to explain about how we did this IBM project. To explain what we have done throughout the project, let me explain what are the systems that we have here. Our system consists of 4 different technologies. Let me explain each and every. So the first thing that we are going to see is the Cloud and DB. The Cloud and DB is nothing but a storage medium offered by IBM where we can store and retrieve data whenever we need it. It's a cloud storage. And the second thing is IBM Watson. This is also provided by IBM. This is one of the platforms where we can utilize the API keys to communicate with all possible IoT devices through internet. And the third thing is fast to SMS. Fast to SMS is nothing but a SMS services where they provide a REST API to act as a bridge between our system and the personal. So the last and final thing is Node-RED. So Node-RED is a very important system in our project. It's a centralized system which we use to communicate with all possible devices and through the APIs in the world. So this Node-RED is mainly carried out in a UI based approach where we can visualize everything using this UI part. In the Node-RED, everything works with a flow. So we have implemented the first flow. Let me explain the first flow and what it does. So the first flow is to create a form or an UI that is based on these 3 parameters where we can utilize these 3 parameters to store data in the cloud and DB which we use to later retrieve. Based on the configuration that we have provided in the Node-RED, we can see that it has created a basic utilizable UI that we are now seeing. Once the detail is filled and I clicked on the button, it will automatically trigger a function to store every data uh, in the cloud and DB. When we go to the cloud and DB, we can see that we have several datas here. Let me just navigate to one of those. And thus we can see that the data is getting stored and we can retrieve this data whenever we need it. Now that the data storing process is done, we can move towards the implementation part using the IoT device. Here we use the IBM Watson platform to communicate with Node-RED and as well as the devices that we use for this project. So the device with which we use here is ESP32, which is an Wi-Fi module which connect through internet to send and retrieve data whenever it seems to get. So this is the example for the IBM Watson platform where we have created this device using add device format, and we have implemented an API key generation process to communicate with Node-RED and also connect with the device using the this API keys. So here we can see the implementation for our project. So in here we have used the ESP32 device in here, which is a virtual mode to provide better visualization for us. So in here we can see the guest and the SSID for the connecting process, and in here we can see the values and the token to like communicate with the device which we have created in IBM Watson. And then here we can see the device ID and the messaging internet of things which is provided by the IBM cloud. This is the REST API services which we can use to retrieve data and to send data eventually. So in here we have subscription for the topic, okay, which we can utilize it any manner, but here we have made it a subscription for this particular status one format, okay, but we are sending it as a JSON format, so I am indicating it as a JSON. And then this is the pin configuration for everything, okay. So this is basically a setup process, and then under this loop we can see that we are getting the temperature and device ID, okay. So and then we are publishing it for once to see whether it was okay or not. So after that we can see that the we have provided a manual button for like if any emergency situation occurs to the elderly peoples, they can just press the button for a period of 3 seconds, and it will automatically trigger the security alarm for the caretakers. So it will directly send a message to the caretakers. So after that we can see this got message topic and do command. So these are all the things that basically needed for connecting and reconnecting and refreshing every states of the device. And then in here we can see the push button released and repeating process. Okay, so whether we have to like eliminate the accidental touches, so we have the pressed state and the released state for it, so that like we can identify whether how much time that they prolong to touch the button. Now that we have covered the Node-RED part and the IBM Watson and how the device will work based on certain circumstances, let's see how this bridged up using the fast SMS. The fast SMS, we have generated an API key for it, and we have implemented this Node-RED flow, which you have seen here. So we have two different flows in here. So the one flow is to one flow is to get the data from the device and then act accordingly. So what was the process is, when a device is like long pressed for like 3 to 4 seconds, it will automatically send an emergency alert message, which we have like flow in here. We can see that it will be posted as a HTTP request. In this HTTP request we have implemented the API request for the fast to SMS, where it will deliver the message as a warning message to the caretakers. And another flow is when the device is connected, and it will check whether the time is right and whether the scheduled medicine need to be taken. Then it will show, then it will act as this function root, and in this function it will see whether the medicine is the time we need to take or not. And then it will move to the function and will create the request, and it will send the data to the patient regarding as an alert message. So why we approach the fast to SMS protocol is because most of the elderly people doesn't carry a smartphone or anything like to be aware of, but they always will have a basic functionality phones where we can utilize the messaging service for this kind of approach. So this is the process that how we helped an elderly people to remember their medicine and take their medications carefully. And also if any emergency occurs, it will also help them to identify whether it was an emergency or not by using the smart devices that we have implemented, which will be connected towards the internet.